Multiple suspects busted in multi-million-dollar gold theft. Beverly Critchlow, new GECOM assistant CEO. And activists sue EPA to revoke Lisa permit. I am Rico Bulford, and this is Uncut News. Do you see what's happening? Send us a tip on WhatsApp at 592-659-615. Yesterday, 24-year-old construction worker Setrahan Sigobin and 49-year-old contractor Baluthnot Sigobin were jointly charged for the theft of 1,000 ounces of raw gold, valued at 400 million Ghana dollars. Setrahan pleaded guilty, while Baluthnot denied the charge. For not wasting the court's time, Setrahan was immediately sentenced to 4 years, while Baluthnot was expected back in court October 1st. Thus far, cops have arrested several other persons, including 2 police officers. According to the court, the 2 were originally contracted to do work on a businesswoman's home when they reportedly stumbled upon the hidden hoard of gold. Investigators have since recovered a quantity of the stolen gold, $6 million, and at least 5 vehicles which were bought with the proceeds from the stolen loot. This morning, tragedy struck the village of Ansgrove on the east coast of Demerara after 49-year-old Leon Bob fatally stabbed his 21-year-old son, Sean Scott, and severely injured his wife, Sharon Scott, before taking his own life with a poisonous substance. Bob and the younger Scott died shortly thereafter, while Scott is currently hospitalized in a critical condition. It is unclear what triggered the deadly attack, but villagers have accused Bob of being abusive, and they suspect that he might have attacked the wife first before turning on his son when he tried to stop him. Early Tuesday morning, 25-year-old City Constable Lester Sobers was fatally stabbed by his wife's brother-in-law after repeatedly threatening to kill her and harm him for intervening during an abusive episode. An investigation is ongoing. The GPF's traffic department has revoked the certificate of fitness for several minibuses during a routine exercise in Georgetown. Their fitness were revoked for breaching the conditions of the road service license, tint, and obscure identification mark, among other road offenses. There is no word on how long it will be until those vehicles are back on the road. Yesterday, GECOM voted for retiring returning officer and voter registration manager Beverly Critchlow to be the new assistant chief election officer. Nevertheless, the commissioners are divided as her appointment does not have the opposition's support. The opposition commissioners preferred Melanie Marshall, a former returning officer for Region 4. Her appointment to the post of voter registration manager in April 2022 had drawn criticism from different factions of the PPP. Your home is your most valuable asset, so before you sign on the dotted line, call VJS Home Inspections. They are a licensed and insured home inspection company with professionals operating in the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Long Island, and Westchester County. From electrical and plumbing issues to a leaky roof. If there's a fault in the house, VJS will find it using the latest industry technology, including infrared scanners, HD drones, and more. So if you're buying or selling a home in New York, make the smart choice. Call VJS Home Inspections at 914-513-9356 and tell them Noriko sent you. It might not be robbery season, but the streets are still mean. That's why you need to get security for your home and business through Sheriff Security Service. Sheriff Security offers well-trained guards, armed and unarmed patrol, marine patrol, canine services. These people even got drones. Why? Because your security is their highest priority. You've seen the rest, now hire the best. Hire Sheriff Security Service today. Over in New Amsterdam, Kanu agents busted 29-year-old Andrew Samuel Seeley this morning with just over 8 pounds of marijuana with a street value of 3.5 million Ghana dollars. He is currently awaiting charges. The local retail sector is about to take a huge blow as the U.S. plans to resume full immigrant visa processing in Havana, Cuba for the first time in almost 5 years. Starting next year, Cubans applying for family-based immigrant visas will have an interview in Cuba instead of traveling here to Guyana, where the Georgetown Embassy currently possesses such visas. The move represents one of the biggest moves to regularize relations between the U.S. and Cuba since Trump left office. 30-year-old Wayne Gilbert, the man who was on trial for the 2017 murder of 43-year-old Raul Rodriguez during a robbery at the Route 32 minibus park in Georgetown, has been freed of the crime due to a lack of evidence against him. According to the judge, Gilbert's oral confession was inadmissible because he did not sign it. Besides this statement, there was no other evidence linking him to the crime. The judge pointed out that the police need to start doing proper video recordings of confessions. As such, Gilbert was released from custody. While Jagdio says that his image has been sullied by Mr. Sue's bribery allegations, so bad that he must sue for damages, the president feels otherwise, saying that the international perception of Guyana has not taken a hit. He also further downplayed Sue's connection to the vice president, calling him a carpetbagger. He further defended Jagdio, saying he believed the Vice News documentary was a premeditated attempt by an international news outlet with an ulterior motive to basically make a whole set of brown people look bad. The opposition has since called for his resignation. The vice president, that is. Now for today's oil update. The GNBS's crude testing lab is now able to conduct all necessary tests of Liza crude and Unity Gold, the two oils that are currently being produced offshore Guyana. The GNBS can now determine the density and viscosity, basic sediment and water, salt content, hydrogen sulfur content, and water content in the crude oil being extracted. And with its own crude testing lab, Guyana would no longer be reliant on data from the oil and gas companies themselves. And according to the lab, both Liza crude and Unity Gold fall into the light, sweet crude category. Sweet crude is highly sought after, as it contains low amounts of sulfur, which in turn leads to a higher yield of refined products like gasoline, diesel, fuel, and even plastics. It should have no greater than 0.5 sulfur by weight and gravity of not less than 37 degrees API, the standard measurement of crude, nor more than 42 degrees API. Meanwhile, GNBS is hoping to expand its testing capabilities to include petrochemicals like gasoline, diesel, and lubricants. In other oil news, two environmental activists have filed a suit against the EPA to revoke the environmental permit it issued to Exxon for the Liza Phase 1 oil project. The applicants claim that the EPA was in breach of the Environmental Protection Act, as the required environmental impact assessment was not done, nor was any public consultation carried out. They also argue that the EPA acted unlawfully by refusing to provide information about whether Exxon had complied with the regulatory requirements for applying for a new permit. Now it's time to tell you about Best Buy's Car of the Week. Currently on sale is this 2016 Toyota Crown Athlete. It comes with Bluetooth, mug rims, new tires, TV, CD, stereo, fog lamps, back camera, and much, much more. Buy cash for $9.95 million, or pay as low as $1.99 million down with around $170,000 monthly for 5 years, and it is yours. Call or WhatsApp 662-0844 for more info. Or visit their showrooms at Lot 171 Pidoroshi, Queenstown, or Lot 2 Lama Street, and tell them Norigo sent you for this sweet deal. Are you a truck owner? Pay close attention. Avoid lengthy downtime when your truck broke down. Get high-quality DAF, International, Freightliner, Bedford DM, or Scammell truck parts at the lowest prices at Powered Automotive. Visit them at Lot 1161 EE Eccles, or call them on telephone number 6970171. Save big on truck parts at Powered Automotive, the #1 heavy-duty truck parts store in Guyana. Now for our Uncut News Field Poll Question of the Day. Every day we pose a question about current events in Guyana, the region, the diaspora, and how you feel it plays to us. Yesterday, I asked, what are some major issues you feel aren't getting enough attention by the authorities? Dimitri V says the minimum wage in the nation, because the government keeps emphasizing how they're offering all these new jobs, but if the wage is not livable, then what's the point? Another issue that isn't brought up enough is mental health and alcohol abuse. Oh gosh, you're terribly correct. It's sad. I'm honestly tired of reporting on all these crimes that obviously have a basis in mental health issues and alcohol abuse. RC View Farm says the illegal guns on the streets, texting and other bad habits behind the wheel, and the noise nuisance in residential neighborhoods. Indeed. Mark Watson says the government needs to look into corruption in every aspect. Whilst Barefoot Wanderer says it would be interesting to hear more about the children begging in the streets. What's the reason? What areas is this happening in? Who's the adult in the picture behind this action? Are kids being solicited by gangs and forced to beg to then hand over the money to gang members? What is the police and government doing to penalize adults who solicit kids to beg? And finally, Rob Peters says, how about the widespread alcoholics and people resorting to chopping up each other like meat? Again, another person that also agrees with me the fact that this is such a terrible issue. People driving, obtaining driving licenses without proper training and causing so many fatal accidents. Letting the Chinese build substandard roads that do more damage to your vehicles, especially coming to the canal. You are absolutely right. In fact, you should see the current state of many of the cities that they have built over the past few years. They are literally falling apart because of the substandard work that was put into them. And finally, address all the police corruption in Guyana. Without honest, decent police force, you cannot have justice. I agree with you 100%.
So, before we get to tonight's question, you can multiply your cash by selling Digicel Top-Up. This is a legit way you can earn some extra money at your business or to supplement your current hustle. Become a top-up vendor quick and easy by linking with Cellular Plus. Call them on telephone number 685-3109 for more info.
Now for tonight's question. How do you feel about the government's plans for Silica City? Do you believe that it will truly become a second city for Guyana? Or will it just be some, I don't know, rich people's playground or something? I want you to think about that question. Tell us in the comments below. If your response is good enough, we just might feature it in our next episode. Anyway, that's all the time we have for tonight, and check us out tomorrow for another. Until then, I'm Rico Bulford saying good night, folks.